Welcome back, Beans Army, to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast. Meet the college off-season podcast, where you could say we're less of the regular season, but more of the off-season. It's just me and Ryan today, and I want to start by saying, we all have aspirations and goals in life. One of my goals, as odd as it may sound, is to have a sandwich or a burger named after me. I don't know why. I feel like that would just be really cool. Although I haven't reached that status yet, in an unorthodox attempt to get five-star quarterback Julian Lewis to decommit from USC and go to Colorado, he now officially does have a burger named after him. So, Ryan, you were the one who kind of broke the story in the group chat. So, give us your thoughts on this very unorthodox move.
Yeah, I happened to see this. Colorado's doing everything they can just to get Julian Lewis, and I want to take this back to the Texas kind of Lambos, and what I mean by that is schools will do everything they can to get a kid to go there. You know, Texas had Lambos and all kind of cars out. Alabama was showing clips of them winning against Georgia in that SEC championship game. Well, Colorado's doing it a little bit different. They had kids outside just on school campus with signs up, kind of like you would see signs in like a protest, but just yelling Juju's name. They really want Juju, well, his nickname is Juju, but Julian Lewis to go to Colorado. And they named a burger at a local restaurant called, I think it was the Sink, is what I saw. Um, but it was like, I don't remember the full name, but it was like the Precision Pass Julian Lewis Burger, something like that. You know, a burger would not be my first choice as a recruiting tool, but if it works, it works. And we will have to see how where Julian decides to go, if he decides to stay at USC or go to Colorado, maybe somewhere else. I'm not really sure. But as a school, pull out all the tools you can use to get a kid there. And it looks like they're pulling out the burger tools, they're pulling out the signs. They're gonna try everything they can, and we'll just have to see where he goes.
This reminds me straight up out of a scene from Blue Mountain State. One of the episodes, the football players have sandwiches named after him at the local diner. And a lot of McDonald's All-American recruits consider themselves burger boys. Obviously, McDonald's burgers, I think you all get it by now. But I think it's officially safe to say that Julian Lewis is now the official burger boy poster child from now on. That's my biggest takeaway from this. And yeah, like Ryan said, and I hear a lot of comments talking about, is this tampering or not? I'm going to tell y'all one thing: tampering does not exist anymore. Everything is fair game. It is a cutthroat business, and win at all costs. You got to do what you got to do to get the players you need. I mean, it's been like that forever. It's just now it's out in the open. Like Matt, Ryan, and I have stated on this podcast to no end, or as Matt would say, because we got to fill in the Matt void here ad nauseum. But anyways, we got a lot to talk about today, and we're not just going to talk about burgers and recruits. Well, recruits are part of it. Actually, recruits are a big part of it. But we're going to move on to the next topic and talk about a five-star commitment from Illinois. Well, he's going to Illinois, and Will Riley, the number one ranked prospect in Canada, has decided to reclassify and attend Illinois for the class of 2024. So, Ryan, how big is this for Daddy Brad and the Fighting Illini?
Yeah, I think it's well, I just had an echo. I think it's really big for them. I was looking at the roster and I didn't know a ton of guys, but I knew Kylan Boswell from Arizona and they got Trey White from Louisville. But, they lost Coleman Hawkins. I thought he was a very, very good player and could basically do everything as like a big, tall kind of power forward or center, whatever you would say he is. But yeah, like you said, he's a 5-star recruit. Obviously, class is 2025, but he signed his letter of intent to reclassify 2024. Um, he's kind of getting, I would say, a little bit late start of practice, probably just summer workouts and stuff. But I think he'll be fine. I don't think it's too late. He's a 6'8", 180. He's got a very lengthy frame, but I think the college strength and conditioning will get his muscle up to date and it just put some muscle on him. But I think that I watched some of his highlights. Number one player in Canada. I think he'll be a very, very solid player for Illinois in the upcoming years.
Following recruiting as hard as I do, he is definitely one of the top international prospects in that we have right now. Um, as I've stated on the show many times, that it's hard to get footage on these international guys, but guys like Will Riley, Nolan Traore, they're all top of the line. Even Igor Demin. And yeah, anytime you can get a player of this caliber and to recruit land them this late in the recruiting cycle, it's always a big win. I mean, even these late additions like Arthur Kaluma with Texas and some of the countless others, I mean, this just adds to an already good roster. And, speaking of Kylan Boswell, I was high on him as a 4-star recruit, thought he could have very easily pushed that 5-star edge. And I hate being right sometimes, Ryan, because I straight up watched Kylan Boswell come into Cameron Indoor Stadium and absolutely torch our defense with high basketball IQ plays. But of course, there might be some reasons that we're now hearing about why there could have been some chemistry issues for that Duke basketball team. And we're not going to touch on that on the show because that is a very, very interesting story. And hence why all I'm going to point out about this is my name for the show is Free Flip. So free Kyle Filipowski is all I got to say.
And I think I sent a picture of that the news in the group chat, and I think you or Matt sent it like right after, and you're all like kind of entertained that one. I just thought it was funny because I don't know if y'all saw that I sent
I
the
think
picture.
what happened is you and me sent it at the same time, not
Yeah,
realizing that like both sent it. But yeah, either way, it is a total
we
what
were
the
thinking the
fuck
same.
story.
We were thinking the same thing, you know.
Well, yeah, because as soon as that those social media like stories and what everything Kyle Filipowski's mom and brothers are saying is just it's wild. I'm not gonna touch on that. Like that's just absolutely crazy, and we just
Came
hope the
out of
best for Kyle Filipowski. And before we get into officially the main topic of the show, I do want to add that I did get some sort of breaking news when I attended the Titan Rockets shootout last weekend. I know some of you all saw the highlights of Malachi Moreno making that block and got a lot of few views on YouTube and TikTok. But per some of my sources, an unnamed source, a classic journalism technique, there is a strong possibility but not 100% at the same time, that Kentucky could add another player for this upcoming season in 5-star Jasper Johnson. So, as we all know, Jasper Johnson is leaving Link Academy. The rumor is that he could do one of two things. He could either reclassify and head to Kentucky, who is the favorite to land him, and join the Mark Pope era, which obviously would be huge, or he could rejoin Woodford County for his senior year where he began his high school career. And let me tell you, covering KHSA AA basketball for several years, I can confidently say that Woodford County could be the most fun team in the state this year. With Jasper Johnson, Armello Boone, and another young and up and comer, Amari Joyner, which this is going to make me feel even older than it does having Ryan on the show. My first year as a sports editor for the Sentinel News, the Shelby Storm Little League football team had all three age groups playing for the state championships at Trinity High School. And Amari played for one of those teams. And let me tell you, this kid was by far the best athlete on the field. Every time he touched the ball, Buddy took it to the house. And not only is he a talented football player, come to find out, when I say he comes from a long lineage of basketball players, that is the biggest understatement in the world. His dad played college ball. His stepmom is a Shelby County High School basketball legend. And do not get me started on his stepsister, who you may or may not have heard of, because she just so happens to be a 5-star top 2 recruit in the class of 2025 in Zakiya Johnson, who already has a resume longer than I can read. And she still has her senior year left at Sacred Heart. And all this comes full circle because I covered her first varsity game as a 7th grader playing for Shelby County. Her first season, I even wrote the first feature article on her. And If she's not already, she's going to be the best player to come out of the state of Kentucky. But yeah, all coming full circle, that's the kind of lineage that Woodford County has this year. Very talented team, very talented players. And I just wanted to get that story out of the way so we can officially get to the main topic of this podcast, which, as you all may know, we are a college offseason podcast, and the NBA may not be in our jurisdiction. However, the NBA draft deals with some of the best players from college officially leaving college basketball. So, what Ryan and I are going to do are going to give you different players in three different categories. Our boom picks, as in the players that we think are going to be absolutely studs at the NBA level. Our bust picks, the ones that obviously we think are going to suck at the next level. And then our sleepers, guys that maybe went a little later, but could go on to be really good players. So obviously, Ryan and I are going to give you our pick straight on. And Matt suggested that we give his pick. So I got his down too. So without further ado, Ryan, let's get it. Let's dive right into it. Who is your first boom take of the 2024 NBA draft?
All right, so I have two players for my boom. I'll just read one so far. My first one is Stephon Castle. You know, Les said in the group chat that a lot of people are higher than him on Stephon Castle. I just think he's a very, very good player. You know, he's an absolute lockdown defender, and he's probably one of the best if not the best, one of the best defenders in the draft. Probably, maybe towards perimeter defending. But he's a winner. You know, he was a really, really high recruit. Came to UConn, won a national championship. Big East All Freshman. Um, the the scouting reports, some of them that I read, said that they're a little bit worried about his shooting and sometimes scoring, but you know, the NBA has the best guys in the world for that. I think that they could really help him with his shooting. He's already got the defense and the passing, the footwork. He's got all that. But they could help him with the shooting and just affecting his game into another level. And I think that he is really what the Spurs need at the guard position. They already got Wimby. They got the big man, and they're getting Stephon Castle. They're gonna get better defensively, but I think that they really need him at the guard position. He's a lot taller than I thought. He's 6'6", 210, which I thought he was smaller than that. But you know, I think he's a very, very good player, and he will be a great player at the next level.
Do you want to get into your second boom player, or do you want to breathe it real quick and let me get into
Uh,
mine?
I can go ahead and do it.
Okay.
My second boom player is Dalton Connect. I've heard a lot of steam about Dalton Connect being very, very good. He's an absolute bucket. I love watching him at Tennessee. He was always reliable coming into later season, even at the start of the season. But do not doubt Dalton Connect. He came from JUCO. He wasn't looked at. He worked his way up to high D1 at Tennessee, and you know, I don't know if you saw the Michigan State highlights where they played Michigan State behind the back, then dunked on him. You know, from the first game at Tennessee, he was really good, and he just got better as the season goes on. He's a five level scorer and one SEC Player of the Year. I mean, those are a ton of attributes that I really like about him, and I think that he will be very, very good for the Lakers in the next coming years.
So officially time to get into my first boom pick, or I shouldn't say first because I also have two players as well for this selection. And if you've been following the pod for a while, you know I've been high on these two for quite a while. Number one is Ron Holland, and let me tell you, it broke my heart when he decommitted from Texas. Not because I was mad or anything, but I knew we were missing out on a great player. I followed his high school career at Duncanville, and I've been a fan ever since. For him, I think at his worst, he's an elite defender, and also along with being a great effort player. At best, he's an all-star. And he reminds me so much of Scotty Barnes, who got paid, by the way. And I'm going to show you just how deep my recruiting fanhood goes with this one. I was high on Scotty Barnes back when he was a sophomore at New School University playing with future Duke commit Vernon Carey Jr. Yeah, even before he was on that loaded Montverde team, which I believe you, Ryan, you kids call him Cade and them. Um, but like Barnes, if Holland can develop into a decent shooter, kind of like what you're saying with Stephon Castle, and cut down on the turnovers, he'll be a problem. And as for my second boom take, and he gets to go home to Chicago, it's Modest Buzelis. He's just a complete offensive wing with ideal size and length, and he reminds me a lot of Franz Wagner, but way more skilled than Franz was at his age. And I don't know if you all saw Buzelis at Sunrise Christian, but watching him then versus watching him for the G League Ignite, I can tell Buddy's been in the weight room because bro's added some muscle for sure. Bro is jacked now. And, he kept sliding on draft night. I almost thought about adding him to my sleepers just because of how good I thought he is, but he still landed in the lottery. So I feel like it would be a little inappropriate to call him a sleeper if you're still a lottery pick. But yeah, Modest Buzelis is my second boom player. I think he's going to be absolutely great. And if you've been following the podcast for a while, I've been saying Ron Holland and Modest Buzelis are the best players from that recruiting class since day one. And I've done nothing but stick to that ever since then. Before we get into our bust, Matt did make a list, and I think it's officially time to get into that. And his two boom players are Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. He says, in his own words, the Timberwolves had my favorite draft. I think Rob Dillingham is poised to break out in his position. The concerns about his size and strength don't bother me as much as they used to because you're playing off Anthony Edwards. He'll take care of the driving. Dillingham will have to pass and shoot, not having to be the lead guard right away. And to add to their haul, the T Wolves add Terrence Shannon Jr. Controversies aside, he's become a three-level scorer and has only improved his three-point shot in college. It's easy to forget, but if it weren't for a giant named Zach, he'd be the conference player of the year. Minnesota needed guard depth, and those two guys are going to step into a contender ready to go. Plus, learning from Mike Conley is a boost. They're my winners. So, Matt, you're not on the pod, but your presence is still felt, my friend. So I think officially, Ryan, get into your bust takes.
You know, I had to think about this for a while, and this is a hot take, but I'm here for it. I'm going with the guy from France, Zakari Russachet, I think is how you
Ooh, the
say his
number
name.
one overall pick. I'm here
The
for it.
number one pick. Um,
Is that why
you
your
know,
name is number one pick?
yeah. Well,
Bet.
I'm just the number one pick of the NBA draft. I guess I am.
Yeah,
But
might as well be.
um, honestly, thinking about it, France is destroying the USA with these past 2 years with the NBA draft. Yeah, they kind of one upped us so far. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Zakari Russachet. I think that's how you say his name. I'm not really sure. I had to watch a couple of videos about it. I still don't know if I've mastered it, but you know, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even know who this guy was last week. Um, and that's no disrespect at all. I watched some of his highlights. I think he's good, but I just don't think he's number one pick overall worthy. Um, he's a tall 6'9", 195, another very thin, kind of lengthy frame. The strength and conditioning will help out, like I said about the 5-star recruit. Um, Frank Mason said, Frank Mason, the guy from Kansas, who's a baller. He said that he played Rizushashe in a game overseas, and there's no way that he should be the number one pick. That's Frank Mason's words or something along the lines of that. We haven't heard of Frank Mason's name in about 10 years, but um, you know, that's just what I think. It's a hot take. I will live for it, but if the Hawks, if that's what they need in Rizushashe, I hope I'm saying that right. Then that's their guy. I mean, then make me look dumb. But I think that he will be a bust. I don't think he will be that good in the NBA. That's just my opinion. But yeah, so that is my bust. The number one overall pick from France.
I have a feeling that a couple of our bust picks are going to stir the pot a little bit, and I'm completely here for it. So I have two busts picked. Wait, was that your only bust, or you have
Yeah, I
another?
only have one.
Okay. I'll say so. My number one bust is Cody Williams, and let me tell you, I watched him through the AAU circuit and in high school, and he is the most stereotypical AAU wing ever. I mean, he has the body and skill that the scouts love, but he doesn't do the little things that separate him from other players. I know Bleacher Report's pro comp on him is was Jaden McDaniels, and that is just wild to me. Jaden McDaniels, even back at Washington, was a great defender and could do all of the dirty work. That's not Cody at all. His last 7 games at Colorado, when Colorado was playing their best basketball of the season, you forgot this dude was even on the court. The one thing that is going to be in his favor is that his brother Jalen Williams could be a great mentor to him and make him teach him to do a lot of the little things that will separate him from other players. But looking at the player that I see now, he's closer to a Mackenzie Mbako who's going back to school than he is a Jaden McDaniels. And that's why Cody Williams is my number one bust on my list. And to have a little fun with this one, shout out to John Fana because I know you're not going to love this one, you Big East homer. My number two is Devin Carter. And let me tell you, I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that he shoots, the way that he moves, the way that his hair curls. It ain't just me. That's what the coastal feeling. All jokes aside, though, I don't hate him like as a person. It's just watching his game. I just don't feel like there's anything translatable about it. I mean, he's a good defender. Let me rephrase that. He's an aggressive defender. He's not a fundamentally sound defender. And the last lottery pick from Providence also was disappointing. So if history's on our side, this is going to be a bust pick. And now for the one that I think is going to stir the most pot, given where we are located. And to get into Matthew, he's not even here to defend himself, but his number one pick for being a bust is the Kentucky boy himself, and I mean that in every sense of the word, and Reed Shepherd. And he says, I know he's the best 3-point shooter in the class. Hold on, Matthew. I'm going to stop you right there because Jared McCain is the best 3-point shooter in this class. I know what everyone's going to say. Reed Shepherd shot 52% from three, but most of his threes are off the spot up, whereas Jared not only took more 3-point attempts on the season, he also shot a more variety of shots. His shot tree was a lot more versatile than Reed Shepherd. So that is why Jared McCain is the best shooter in this class. And he's 2 days into Philly and a couple message boards behind, but he's officially a Sixer, and I think he'll be just fine. If you listen to TikTok, you get that reference. But back to Matt's bust take. Yeah, he said he was the best 3-point shooter in the class, blah, 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 with great court awareness. But he said in the modern NBA, 3-point shooting is everything. But I keep flashing back to March when Jack Golke, who's probably the number one pick in the TBT draft, lit him up. He's not super impressive with the physical traits either, so that worries me. Hold on, buddy. He did have the highest vertical in the NBA draft. I do want to throw that out there, Matthew. Which, if you were on the show to defend yourself, you and I would be having this conversation. He said, but the Rockets are a team on the rise looking to make the next step, and having a good 3-point shooter is part of that. I still wonder how long he'll see the court and if he's a liability on it defensively. And I will defend Matt in that regard because I know a lot of Kentucky fans are going to have a problem with that defensive take because of some of his blocks and steals average for his position. But much like what I said about Devin Carter, I can make the same argument for Reed Shepherd. People need to understand the difference between a fundamentally sound defender and an aggressive defender. An aggressive defender can make all the highlight steals and the highlight blocks, but they also overcompensate when they body up the defenders one-on-one. So when they're not getting the steals and not getting the blocks, they're getting burned. It's a 50-50, it's a 50-50 either great play or you get a great play made on you. Whereas a fundamentally sound defender may not be making all the highlight plays that the aggressive defender is, but they are consistently sticking with their man. And that is what Matt and I mean when we criticize Devin Carter and Reed Shepherd's defensive prowess at the NBA level. Well, wrapping that up, I think it's officially time to get into our sleepers. So, Ryan, who is your sleeper options?
I just have one sleeper, and I'm gonna go with Isaiah Collier going to the Utah Jazz, the 29th pick overall. I think that the upper 20s are like kind of the steal area, like that could be a steal. Even though it's first round, I think it still be a steal. But he's from USC. He was a really, really high recruit, number 2 overall, 5-star. Uh, went to USC, with Bronny. He was the second leading scorer, just like point 0.3 points under Boogie Ellis. Boogie Ellis also did not get drafted. Um, but I really like his frame. He's 6'3", 210, a big kind of like a big body. That sounds weird too. My
Pause.
my brother and his friend were making fun of me because I said like something in the last episode of someone have like a good body or something like that. But uh
I don't judge on
no,
the show. I don't.
but
They
don't
might. I
mind
don't.
that. Uh but yeah, I think I ran out of room. He has a very good strength with his 210 body, and his shiftiness in the game. I think that he'll be very, very good um, player going to the Jazz. And yeah, he's my steal, the 29th pick overall. I've been high on him since he went to USC. I just think he's a very, very calm scorer, scored a bunch of different levels. But yeah, he will be my steal or sleeper, whatever you say, at the 29th pick going to the Jazz.
Is that your only sleeper?
Yeah, I only have one.
That's okay. I'll say I have three sleepers. First one I'm going to get into is Tristan da Silva, and like what I said with Cody Williams earlier in the show, Tristan da Silva is everything you want in Cody Williams, but also willing to make the little plays that go unnoticed. So he is actually the one, in my opinion, that's closer to Jaden McDaniels than Cody Williams. And much like I said earlier, the last 7 games of the Colorado season, when they were playing their best basketball, you forgot Cody Williams was on the court. Well, Tristan da Silva and KJ Simpsons were the engines that made that team go. But I look at everything this dude brings to the table, and he is a prototypical wing in this league. So my number one sleeper is Tristan da Silva, and perfect timing. We just hit the 10-minute mark. Um, my number two sleeper pick was one of Ryan's boom picks, and that's Dalton Connect, because the fact that he fell as far as he did was absolutely crazy, because I thought this dude was a for sure top 5 pick without question. But I'm sure obviously his age played a factor in that because he's been in college so long. But he was one of the best scorers in college basketball. And he is an explosive athlete. And who says white men can't jump? Finally, the Lakers took him, and playing next to Bron, oh man, it's going to be showtime again. And like they said, JJ Redick's already starting to draw up plays for this dude. So, I mean, the Lakers are locked in. And number 3 sleeper pick was one of Matt's boom picks, and Terrence Shannon Jr. And in my opinion, he was one of the best players in the tournament until they ran into that buzzsaw UConn team. He has all the tools offensively and will be an absolute bucket in this league. So that wraps up my sleeper picks. And now officially to get into Matt's sleeper picks. And this is the most Matt pick of all time. I'm not even going to lie. Mid-major Matt strikes again, and it's Deron Holmes. And he says Denver always wanted Holmes. I mean, Matt, are you talking to the front office? How do you know that, bud? And it's a perfect fit for him. Concerns about his in-between size at the 4-5 melt away in a place like Denver, which seems to have I think he means to say glue guy, but he says a glut guy that fits. I think that meant to say glue guy that fits that role. He blocks shots and has a great pick and roll game, even shooting around 36% from beyond the arc last season. He's a perfect complement to on offense that predicates on Jokic and his insane distribution skills. He's going to be aggressive, and that's what Denver is really going to like. So, yeah, even though I think, Matt, you meant to say glue guy instead of glut guy, I can agree with that. And I have to say, Matt, even though you're not on the show today, Deron Holmes was the most you pick of all time. And officially, we wrapped up our sleepers and busts and booms of the 2024 NBA draft. So I'm going to go ahead and add another thought that Matt wanted to get out of the way. And he says the old age of the NFL draft is teams are built in rounds 4 to 7. This year, it seems as though the NBA draft was like that. Many quite good but not generational players were taken to cater to specific team needs. The biggest winner of the draft was France, and that's always an indication the college stars may not have aligned perfectly. Either way, some of these players are in intriguing positions and will make noise. So, Matt, very well said. And Ryan, do you have any closing thoughts as we officially wrap up our boom, busts, and sleepers of the 2024 NBA draft?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this during the NBA draft. I feel like in the next couple years, I'm gonna just know less and less about the NBA draft or the players. I'll know obviously the college players, like I'll know who they are, but just like the overseas players and maybe OT and those type of guys. I think they ended G League Ignite, right? I'm pretty sure I saw that they ended that.
Did
So
they?
I think so.
Hold on, I'm going to look this up right now. This might be breaking news on the Less is More Sports podcast, and Ryan might be stumping me on some information, and I'm here for it.
Will I one up less?
Will he? But no, continue. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, shit. That's a huge story.
Yeah. So they're ending that. So I guess Ron Holland and what Matas.
Modest Buzelis are officially
Yeah.
the last of their kind.
Yeah, the last. Okay, well, but yeah, so they're ending that, so that takes away one. But I feel like I'm gonna have to research more and more as the upcoming NBA drafts um in the next couple years. So, but I'm just waiting till a Louisville player gets drafted. I may have to wait a couple years, but uh, I was waiting for that Louisville pick to get drafted this year. I'm still waiting currently. Duke fans don't have to worry about that, but
No, we don't, especially next year. We got 6 players projected to go in the first round of the NBA draft next year.
wow, that's
Yeah,
just
wow.
flexing on all of us. All right,
And we already know who the number one projected pick is going to be. A guy that I've stayed on this podcast for the last 4 years.
Mr. Coop.
Raise the flag. Ain't that right, Bean? Yep. Raise the flag.
I don't think it was one episode. I don't think we saw Bean.
It was last episode. He did not really make an appearance. He was not happy with us.
Mr. Bean. But yeah,
Like you
that's all really I have to say. I feel like I'm just gonna know less and less, but I'll definitely know the college players. So we're
well,
good on
we are
that.
a college show, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna know the college players, but
Before I
uh
get into my closing thoughts, I do want to say that we also have some breaking news here on the Less is More Sports podcast. And my grandma wanted me to officially tell this joke. Why did the coach go to the bank, Ryan?
uh well, I already know the answer, but why?
If you know, you can say the answer. You don't have to let me tell the joke.
Yeah, well, it's the most uh because he wanted to get his quarterback.
My grandma just texted me that, so I told her I had to put it on the show. So
Yeah,
shout out to grandma. I know
that's
I've
a
shaded you
classic.
on.
That's a classic joke.
I was say I know that one episode I shaded my grandma kind of not really. In a fun loving way I would like to say.
Yeah.
She appreciated it. So but yeah, I guess my closing thoughts on the NBA draft this year is that I keep hearing the narrative about how this is a do you mind? It's not your turn, Bean. He's like incorrect. It is
Wow.
always my turn.
I
But
know
anyways,
Matt would be doing Bean's voice right now, but
he'd be doing the Emperor Bean voice.
yeah.
Emperor Bean, and it is always my time. But
Yeah.
anyways, my closing thoughts on the NBA draft is I kept hearing the narrative surrounding this draft about how weak it is and all this that, and I just want to be on record in saying that there is no such thing as a weak draft. Yes, some drafts have more generational talent than others, but you can always find valuable pieces in any crop of players that are taking that next step. So and not to mention, I know 2013 is infamous as being a very weak draft, but I mean, we even got Giannis Antetokounmpo out of that class. So I mean, you just never
Yep.
know. Some of these guys just might develop into the next great thing in the NBA. And then
Now,
being a recruiting fan, I'll get to we'll get to you, Ryan. I promise.
okay.
Being a big recruiting fan, you look at how many players were 3 stars and below that go on to be superstars at the next level. So go ahead, Ryan. I just want to get
Now,
that point.
this picture is a generational draft. That's kind of what.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
I
love how
wanted
you officially pointed to Dwayne Wade first, which is my favorite player of all time. So much respect there.
yeah, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, LeBron. That was draft was before I was even born. Um,
Making me
but
feel old already.
that's who those are the players I grew up with technically. So that's my era.
Um, Real quick, can you tell me who is? I would say I know you know who Kirk Heinrich is.
Nope.
You don't know who Kirk Heinrich is?
No.
He's
He's
the
probably
white
good.
boy, and he's the white boy in the front row.
No.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Well, that kind of defeats my purpose. I was going to say who's between Kirk Heinrich and Dwayne Wade. See if you know that one. The,
Uh,
the one in the very middle.
this guy.
Yes,
Yep. I got no clue.
I'm disappointed in you because he is a Texas legend, and that's TJ Ford, the
Oh,
best point guard in the history of Texas basketball. Don't at me. And hold
who's
on,
who's
move over real quick. Why does Darko Milicic look like he's plotting his evil plot to eat TJ Ford in this picture?
actually? I think I know who that is. Though. Ugh.
Who? Who?
The one you just said, Darko Mills.
Well, yeah, he's infamous as being one of the biggest busts in NBA history.
Yeah.
All right, we got less than a minute, so before me and Ryan continue this rambling for the end of the show, as always, like and subscribe to Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel. Be sure to follow the social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads. That's at Less is More Sports. Yes, Ryan, we all know who LeBron is.
Yeah, he's pretty good. You know, that guy
He's
was not a bust, I can tell you that.
he was fairly decent, yeah. I would
Yeah.
say that. Yeah, apparently a lot of people learned what nepotism is over the weekend too.
Yeah. That's an interesting topic.
Hey, we know how I feel about it. So if you
Yeah.
follow the channel, you know how I feel about it.
I think Matt said he said his views on that too.
Yeah, Matt's pretty much same page as me.
Yeah, same.